I'll show you like the details on the face. Like, man.
That's when you need Richard's
PS5.
TV. That's when you need Richard's TV.
I might buy a bigger one just because, not for movies, because I don't watch anything anymore, but for the PlayStation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel myself less disconnected when I play PlayStation than on the stuff that I like than when I watch movies.
Yeah.
I can't watch movies anymore. Like maybe go to the movies with Yaya as an experience, but watching at home, I don't.
My problem with watching movies at home is I'm good for about 15 minutes and I'm completely asleep.
Yeah, I have no... It's funny, like because I was, growing up, man, I watched every single movie there ever was. But yeah, it's funny, like I lost it. It's interesting.
Yeah, Lincoln will lose his mind because we'll be like, hey, let's sit down and watch a movie after dinner. And, oh, fine. All my friends are friends back in the States are just getting on Xbox.
And then you fall asleep.
And then I fall asleep within 15 minutes. So
he
sits there and I won't, he knows better than to just switch it in case I wake up after 15 minutes. So
I did that to my grandfather. Like he would fall asleep and I would switch and he would get pissed.
All right, guys, we're back this week. We've got another big episode for you. I'm trying to think of where we're sitting in here.
Before we go there, I want to talk about something because I'm getting pissed at certain things. No, to say the least.
Okay.
Right. So first of all, let me give a flashback on the nutrition protocol, the StrongFit protocol for nutrition. Right. Okay. So no protein during the day. Right. Only fats and veggies. Protein are at night. Carbs is only when you train. So it seems like at some point in one of the podcasts, I said 80-20. I don't remember saying that.
I'm actually nearly certain that those were the words that came out of my mouth, but you probably need to zoom back a little bit further.
I don't know. I don't remember saying, someone say you said 80-20. From what I remember, I might have said that when it came to cheese or stuff like that. But basically, okay, so this is my problem. You cannot, nothing can be either or with the body. It's always so much more complex than that. So that's why I don't like to talk in absolutes, because only the fifth does that, right? So I do not deal with absolutes. At the same time, whenever I try to introduce a certain, not even subtlety, but nuance to what I say, people use it to change what I say.
Yeah.
So I get a picture of a bowl of Israeli dish that has potatoes and eggs in it for lunch. And I'm like, no. You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, but you said 80-20. And he was like, but it's potatoes and eggs. Yeah, it's 80% eggs, 20% potatoes. Wait, but I'm like, but it's for lunch. He said, yeah, but after I'm not going to do anything all day. I'm probably going to nap or since it's the lockdown. And so out of me, I don't remember saying 80-20, but let's say I said it. If I said it, I think it's because it came down to cheese or shit like that.
Yeah.
But you turn me saying 80-20 protein with cheese to I can have eggs and potatoes for lunch.
Yeah. And the only time I mentioned 80-20 was in reference to total adherence. And even then, I after that had kind of learned, and we talked about how it's like, you can have a time from time to time, but eventually you'll learn that like...
So, let's say.
Yeah.
So, I guess I have to speak with less nuance for certain things, otherwise it doesn't work. So, let me repeat. No 80-20. No, 0 80-20. Right? No protein during the day. Only at night. Fats and veggies only during the day. If you have carbs, that means you're training. Right before training or as you're training. That's it. You cannot mix carbs and protein ever. Right.
The end.
So, the end, right? I don't know how else. Then people are going to say, well, what about cheese? There's protein in cheese. So yes, the only time you can have protein during the day is if it's in dairy products. Because those don't basically barely count because of digestion.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, and then you get further, unless dairy bothers your digestion, and then...
Right, so then we can go into that argument. But you know what? This is what we're going to do. I'm going to talk in, not absolutes, but nearly absolutes. And then after that, when people start bitching, I can start explaining the nuances of the thing. Because if I start with nuance, this is what I get.
Yeah, you got to dig out of every... It's an interesting thing that I've noticed that you have to deal with, that I also see a lot in other podcasts that I deal with, where people are concerned with getting the right information out there and being right and not confusing people. And a lot of those science-based things, what they end up doing is those podcasts I'll listen to, and they will spend the first 15 to 20 minutes going through corrections from the last episode.
Right.
And there are corrections from the last episode that were pointed out, and I'm telling you, it is excruciating to listen to.
Yeah.
Because every one of them is like, well, someone pointed out this, and I was using that to reference something else totally different. This number was slightly, and you're like, dude, this is fucking terrible to listen to.
Yes.
It didn't, the tiny, whatever you read into it,
Right.
like, so you just can't start with all the detail because you fucking never get anything said.
Right. I understand that people are literal.
Yeah.
Some people are literal, but at some point, like, isn't it like you just listening to whatever you want to listen? Yeah. So when I told the girl, it's like, but that's not protocol shit, but it tastes so good. I'm like, okay.
Now, there we go. Then that's
there
why
we
you
go.
ate that. That's okay.
So then you eat whatever it's just not the protocol. So then you're not following it for that meal, which, by the way, you do whatever you want. Yeah. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm facing that a lot where people are like, but you say that word. I'm like, but yes, I probably said that word in a context. Like there was an entire thing where you said lats, but I did not say teres major or latissimus dorsi. I was like, yeah, that's true. Because, talking and everything. It's so like it's. I'm getting to a point where I don't know how to speak.
Yeah.
Because if I speak in absolutes, it's wrong. And if I give nuance, people basically get what they want out of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I don't know.
Well, and if you give nuance, the problem is you have to walk it out all the way. All the way.
Which I'm trying. Yeah. But then people say they feel overwhelmed because they don't understand.
Yeah.
But if I give you absolutes, I'm also lying to you because it's not that simple.
Yeah.
So how do I... because if I give absolutes only fast during the day, people are going to go, but there's protein in cheese. Because that's the early stuff.
Yep.
Where people complain saying, there's protein in cheese, how dare you say that?
Yeah, it's like, well, that was the thing too with that. It's like, okay, then just eat cheese. It's probably going to be fine because the digestive load. And then that turns into just like you said, well, I can just have protein then.
Right, exactly, right. So like, is this a way for you to tell me that I'm wrong? Is this a way for you to explain? Or is just for you to talk?
I think sometimes it's a way to do what you want to do and still justify to yourself that it is something new. That's the thing. It's because it's not people fighting for those types of things. Yeah. That's not something new to them. Yeah. They're pulling their own shit, their own whatever they like to eat, and they're trying to pull that into this thing. And
to do what they want.
Yeah, and but everything's so I want to keep doing all the things I continue to do that have got me here.
That's what I
noticed. And hope that I don't end up fucking in the same place.
Right, but that's the thing is if you want to keep doing exactly what you've been doing, then do that.
Then call it that. Too.
Right, but that's the part where I get confused every time. Is you're coming to me to tell you to do what you've been doing, and obviously we're not successful with it, because that's why you want to change. But so you want me to tell you what to do with what you want to do, but not, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm reaching a stage where I'm acknowledging to myself that I will never relate to most people.
Yeah.
The incapacity of, no, maybe not, the lack of willingness of most people to learn and put the work in is something I cannot relate to. So I'm starting to acknowledge the fact that it's not going to happen. I will not relate to people. And then that's okay. It's just like from trying to help, I don't know, like it's making it, I don't know how to talk anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm like, so fuck it. I'm just going to do what I do.
Well,
but
there is an interesting thing that I've noticed. I haven't even brought this up to you outside the podcast yet. But I was listening to some podcasts from some academics and then from some people who are more like communicating directly to just people, and then some in between. And they had kind of pointed out that most people who are speaking on complicated subject matter or anything like that always make the mistake, like you said, of trying to speak to your peers, and not necessarily in the sake of your peers, but like, people who are going to attack it, right? Or you're going to try to justify it to intellectuals often.
That is true.
Because we're always trying to because when you do that, you're trying to prevent your statements from being picked apart by really smart people. Yeah. And what ends up happening with it, it becomes harder to digest for normal people. But if you take it all the way down to the most basic things, it's incomplete, and then you just will only get picked apart on semantics by intellectuals, and everything still just kind of sits still. It doesn't go anywhere.
Exactly.
And that's
how it feels like it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So do I simplify what I say up to the risk of being somewhat incorrect. I can just say it then. I can just say this is an oversimplification, but here it goes.
Yeah. I don't think you've ever worried too much about necessarily whether it bothers people, anything that you say. It's only about that it is effective and not a total waste of your time just blowing hard into the wind.
But this is really where I'm starting to get a bit annoyed. So I'm going to explain, but we're going to do a paywall now. Not for the podcast, it'll still be free. Like everything I provided for free for StrongFit will stay for free. But we're going to have sections now that is behind a paywall where there's more advanced stuff or more practical stuff I want to talk about, but that's going to be behind a paywall, but I don't know, like $10 a month. Yeah. And the reason I'm going to do this is because I want a relationship with people. Mm-hmm. I feel used sometimes. Yeah. This is not a relationship. Again, someone messaged me on Instagram. I spent an hour about nutrition because they were in major trouble. We're talking getting not antidepressant, but something else. I can't remember. Or maybe antidepressants, but like I can't remember what it was, but like some help. And I was like, all right, so I'll help because you seem to be in a pickle and everything. So I spent like an hour, 2 hours talking, and the person is like, oh my God, you're my Black Swan event. Thank you. I can't believe you gave me all that stuff. Yeah. I'm like, all right, so this is what I want you to do. Come back to me in a week. And she said, yeah. That was 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Never came back to me. Yeah. And I'm like, I just spent 2 hours trying to help you, where you came to me basically begging for attention because and I give you all the stuff to do and you don't do it and I get zero out of that. Yeah. That makes me, but this is not the first time and that won't be the last. And every time I get suckered back in because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. But every time what I get the attention is they don't want to do anything. They just want me to listen. Yeah. But that it upsets me. I am not your father. I have already a daughter. My time for listening is with her, not with you. You have no business messaging me if you're not willing to learn and do the work. Yeah. Then you have no business taking 1 hour of my time. How dare you? I don't take an hour of your time.
Plus those things and I do it all the time too, you embark on knowing when you take that first step, you're knowing that, well, this isn't going to be any sort of thing with which is going to benefit me financially. I'm just going to do this.
I'm not going to make any money.
And it's the same way for me.
And that's okay because, again, it's a relationship. Yeah. I thought I was creating a relationship with a person. Yeah. Guy, girl, don't care. It's a relationship.
Yeah. I can say I have taken multiple, over the last 4 years, probably 4 years now, I've probably taken 15 different people who are maybe starting podcasts or starting something and walked them through the process, the equipment, kind of how the things, some basic stuff. And all of that for sometimes many hours of my time, sometimes very redundantly. I should just have a fucking a link that I can just send out, but I don't like to do that. So I often get on a call and
to be personal,
and it has been very rewarding for me in that as of late, the people that I've been talking to in that regard, when I give them my time for that, they go for it. Like they're doing it and they're doing the thing. But I would say of the 15 or so, I bet there's only 4 or 5 operational podcasts with that lasted more than 6 months that had done it. And I'm like, man. And the first thing I tell everybody is we're not talking about anything until I talk about you needing to continue to do this thing. So don't even fucking start if you can't make weekly happen. Or month or whatever it is.
At least you got 6 months. I don't even get the first step.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah.
But then why? That's upsetting to me because I feel used. I not wasted my time, but I put the time into this. Is like, do you understand how you come to me for help? Do you understand how disrespectful that is? Yeah. You come to me for help. I give you the help, and you don't even email me back. You're just gone. Yeah. I don't like that. Yeah. I don't like that. I feel, I don't like this. So I want a relationship with people. So there's certain things that are worth your people putting the time into it. So I'm like, all right, so you're going to have to prove it. I don't know, $10 a month or whatever. If you can't spend $10 on this, then, okay, well, then it's on you. Mm-hmm. Because it's $9.99. It's one espresso in Venice, California. Yeah, probably right now.
I think it's about a cocktail in 90% of the bars I go to around here.
Right, exactly. So one cocktail a month. If you can't do that, then that goes back to the point. You're just here for the popcorn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that...
And at that case, we'll still be here and say a lot of swear words.
We'll have the
and interesting
podcast,
stuff on the podcast.
And I'll keep doing the stuff, but they'll be practical stuff, because I have a few very, very interesting practical things I'm working on right now. But I want people to earn that.
Well, also, you have a lot of things that are very current, like almost immediately as you kind of process them and figure it out that you want to be working on and doing. And you don't want to be stuck so far in the back, just trying to keep things down so that it's consumable for everybody. And so I kind of envision that space as being somewhere where it is a bit of an insight into what you're working on, thinking about something
beyond the paywall.
Yeah,
but there's also the practical stuff, like that thing with the kettlebell. I want to test it on people, but no, I'm done releasing everything like that for free, because I feel the more I release for free, the less, not respect, but the less people seem to value it.
Yeah.
Because we give the StrongFit library, the podcast, everything for free, like all the neuroscience, I feel it's valued less and less. Don't get me wrong, the StrongFit community is still going really well, and we get really a lot of good people sharing knowledge and stuff like that. But we can count how many? 20, 30 of them?
Yeah, I would say.
Right? Let's say 50. Right? 50 out of 3,500.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I bet you those people will be willing to pay $10 to get more out of it.
Yeah.
And so there's a level of you earning it that has to be there.
Yeah. Well, it's just a matter of like, it's hard for me to, let's embark on these projects where we can make and make and make more.
Yeah.
And when we do all this, it's like, all right, well, we do have to start like getting a barrier, an engagement barrier to get in. Because the workload when you're fielding questions about really complicated, very new subjects, 24 hours a day, like it's overwhelming when it's just anybody and everybody who is only casually interested, who maybe just wants to bust your balls and poke at your theories.
I think so.
There's some of that.
Sometimes there's some of that. Yeah. So that's like, now you want to do that, all right? Then it's behind the paywall.
Yeah.
Because I might not. I'll still answer on the StrongFit community, but I might only answer people behind the paywall, honestly. Yeah. Because I put the stuff out there. Go try.
Well, the community is a really good resource, anyways, for the community to connect with each other, with the community. Yeah. And that's why it's become such a great exchange of information.
Yes, I love the community. Yeah. No, the community is great, but there's a moment where, if you ask me, that might change. Yeah. The community won't change, and I might answer here and there, but I think a lot of that stuff is going. You want me to answer? Okay, it's behind the paywall, because what I want out of this is a relationship with people. I am not there to be used just because we offer something for free. Sometimes I get the feeling people take it for granted, as in, we like a public service. So therefore, it's it's like you never thank the guy, the janitor. You never thank the guy sweeping the streets, even though he sweeps right in front of your house. No one ever thanks the guy because he's getting paid. Yeah. Right, he works for the city. I'm like, still a human being, though. Right, so that's a little bit how I feel sometimes.
Well, there's an interesting thing to note about how, a lot of people feel about transactions and their work. There's kind of a general consensus of what work is that you get paid for is, I don't want to do it, and that's why you got to pay me to do it. And that's not necessarily the case, I think, in the things that we do, unless you are going to be difficult. And when we see difficult or people who are not even trying to adhere or just making noise, I just think we've got to do something different.
Yeah, no, that's why. Yeah. So that's why the paywall is coming. Yeah. Speaking of that, before we get into the paywall, there's something very interesting I want to talk about. So that one is one of those forks in the street, forks in the road that define things better. There's been a few. There's been internal torque, external torque, obviously. There's been the action versus nervous system. But I think I'm starting to understand, like after the 6 months of neuroscience, how the stuff actually works with the Carl Friston and then emotions and stuff like that. So how do I approach this? You're going to see it's very interesting. Okay. I'm going to go at it from first autism and anxiety to set the ground, right? So you're going to have to keep 5 different ideas together at one time. There you go. Right.
That's kind of how I normally do things anyways. Yeah. But I'm only partially engaged in any of them. So we'll see how this goes.
No, but those are ideas we already explained. Okay. So this is just a combining of things. But if we explain it like that, it explains a lot.
Okay.
It's very, very interesting. So the idea, autism. So not autism like ASD, not autism syndrome disorder, not spectrum disorder. We're talking about what is called ASC, which is autistic spectrum characteristics. So people on the spectrum.
Anywhere on the spectrum.
Yeah, anywhere on the spectrum. Where we see, usually not with kids, with adults, that they have what is called interoception sensitivity that is very high. So how are those things measured? So when it comes to interoception, the monitoring of the body signals, you have three things. You have what is called interoceptive sensitivity, sensibility, or sensitivity. Sensitivity, I can't remember, one or the other. The other one is interoception awareness, and then this one is interoception accuracy.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it sensitivity?
I'm going to look it up real quick, but you go on.
Yeah. So interoception, so interoceptive awareness. Let's start with accuracy.
Okay.
So
I'm working on it.
interoceptive accuracy is measured by can you hear your heartbeat? Right? That's is it sensibility or sensitivity?
I believe there was kind of both listed, so you'll have to see.
Sensitivity. Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Let's say sensitivity.
Okay.
I might be wrong, but whatever. So there's interoceptive accuracy is they like to measure it like that with the heart because that's simple to measure. And then you can tell, right? You put someone on the thing. And so what they make you do is they make you tap with your heart rate. So can you hear your own heartbeats? Mm-hmm. That's interoceptive accuracy. Interoceptive sensitivity is basically a written test where how strongly do you feel the sensations of your body, right? The monitoring of the signals. And interoceptive awareness is the two combined. It's basically the confidence that you have when you're right or when you're wrong. Like when you do this, like you're right because you can hear it, your confidence is very high. That's interoceptive awareness.
Okay.
Right. So we're going to leave awareness away. We're going to go with accuracy and sensitivity. People on the ASC have a very, very high interoceptive sensitivity, which means on the written test, they all feel things with a tremendous sharpness, like the noise is loud. Remember when I talked about the room? The noise is very loud. But they actually have very poor interoceptive accuracy. They can't actually hear the heartbeats, which is my case, which I can never hear it. Mm-hmm. So on this subject, it's very important to understand that this is one way of testing accuracy. That does not mean that interoceptive accuracy is hearing your heartbeat. It's a lot of things. Yeah. It's just the one thing we test because that's the easiest way to test. Yeah. That doesn't mean, so that's for the heart, but there's also the gut, there's also a number of things.
With which there aren't good measuring systems.
So that's why we're using that one. That's going to come very important. It's going to be very important later on. So that's the accuracy versus sensitivity. So very high, and then there was an entire thing where actually with anxiety, we saw the same thing, that the gap between sensitivity and accuracy is that somatic error, right? Yeah. That's where anxiety is as well. Okay. So this was an entire very, very important part there. So there is, and so from there, from the theory of mind, the idea was that people on the ASC, so people on the spectrum, feel things very strongly, but they're not connected to their body. So that gap where they go like, I feel things very strongly, but I don't understand why. Right, so if I don't understand myself, I can't understand you. Mm-hmm. So since they feel things very strongly, but they cannot relate to their body, they cannot relate to you because of the theory of mind. So that's how we're starting to look at the spectrum now, which makes a lot of sense.
That mechanism can possibly be used to explain the gap in reading social cues and a lot of those common traits.
Because they can't read their own.
Yeah,
right.
Makes a lot of sense.
So this is something that I know as a fact, and it's going to come, I'll explain after the podcast, but that's actually a very important part where I can never feel my heart rate. It has worked really well for me understanding this. Mm-hmm. It has calmed me down a lot on many levels, because now I'm like, because now basically I have ways to do this too. So I found a way, and that'll be beyond the paywall, but I found a way to improve my interoceptive accuracy. Mm-hmm. And that has calmed me down a lot. And so that's what allowed me to come up to the conclusion I came up with accuracy and everything that is fascinating. But it has helped me a lot doing that. that exercise with the kettlebell has helped me a lot because it's improving my accuracy because I can hear the heartbeat. So it's very, very interesting. But that goes with anxiety as well. So then let's take that role a little bit further. So we're gonna let that sit as idea number 1. Okay, so it's gonna sit right here. Okay. Then we're gonna go here. The difference between pleasant touch and pain. Okay. So most people think it's a skin thing, right? I go here, past a certain intensity, it hurts. Below that, it's pleasant touch. Actually, it is not. We have been measuring through all that stuff, and the skin, the part of the skin is not pleasant versus pain. That's cognition.
It's only
the
amplitude.
skin only,
right?
Okay. Yes, but amplitude of what?
Correct.
Becomes. Remember, like emotion as a learning rate? Yeah, that's idea number 3, it's coming.
Oh,
but first, yeah, exactly. But first, it's a lot of stuff together. But the conclusions are mind-blowing. Anyway, so pleasant touch versus pain, I have a lot of studies on that. I've been studying this pain for a long time now, and especially lately on this. It's actually a social construct. Okay. It seems that, and this is very important, pleasant in a way, so here goes me trying not to be too complex, right? But it's an oversimplification. Pleasant means certainty, whereas pain means uncertainty. Yeah, so imagine a dial that goes between the two, right? So why is it a social construct? Because again, going back as a baby, when you can't move, the world is being changed through your caretaker. So your first way of grasping the world is through a social bond, right? That's going to come into play, right? So that means that someone who had problems with a social bond, even with growing up with a caretaker, for example, would have a greater uncertainty that causes more pain. Whereas if they have a very strong bond, they have a greater certainty that causes more pleasant touch. So now, very importantly, when I say certainty, I don't mean can I trust that person. It has nothing to do with your brain, with your conscious thoughts.
That's
not
an
what it says.
External thing.
It is certainty as in monitoring of your own signal. So what do I mean by certainty? Like you meet a gorgeous woman and you happen to have dinner with her. She says yes. Like you can hear your heartbeat, like your heart is in your ears. Yeah. Like if she's gorgeous, you're there, you're looking at her going like, what the fuck am I doing here? How come she said yes? Like you can barely hear her because all you can hear is your own heartbeat. Yeah. I think everybody has been there, right? Or like you're so happy, you can't hear anybody because you can hear your heartbeat so hard. What? That is certainty. Okay. The certainty of the monitoring of my own signals. I know how everything my body feels. That's certainty. Not I know anything about you. It's all about internal certainty versus internal uncertainty. So imagine that feeling of happiness, right? Yeah. Like that's you are certain. On the other side, when you're uncertain, it's the least. Yeah. It's your least favorable emotion ever.
Sort of my recent accusation of some crazy virus.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So dry cough. So you know what I mean? Certainty, uncertainty. Yeah. Right. So now let's take back emotional violence. Okay. Imagine, because we did a podcast, can't remember the number, about emotional violence as as a learning rate based on entropy. Right. So what if that dial of emotion is actually uncertainty to certainty? That's emotional balance. So the learning rate, it's not a learning rate. It is a learning rate, but based on uncertainty to certainty.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right?
Yeah. And I won't try to extrapolate that into training at the moment, but that's very interesting. Yeah.
That's very interesting, right? So let's push this a little bit further. So you'll notice what happens when you meet the girl and you're so, you're so happy because she's there. You feel she's the person for you and you can hear your heartbeat. What do you pump at that time? We know that it's oxytocin. What is oxytocin if not it's a social bonding agent? Yeah. Women, when they breastfeed, all that stuff. Right. So that means that oxytocin is produced during certainty of your body signals. Right. The opposite of that would be, for example, dynorphin. Because dynorphin, we know that is towards, so oxytocin would be the flow, toward the flow, certainty toward the flow, right? And you will have dynorphin that is toward the freeze, because dynorphin would be something that happens within uncertainty.
Okay.
Right. So
amid maximum uncertainty.
And maximum uncertainty is maximum dynorphin is when you reset everything, because what you're doing is not working. Okay. So dynorphin would be a wipening of the way you do things agent, so that you're less, so that you can work your way toward
some sort of
certainty.
Yeah.
What's very interesting is dynorphin. So I talked about that a lot. That's an opioid peptide.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So drugs, addiction, has a problem with uncertainty. That would explain the social structure of drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to wipe out the uncertainty.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Isn't it? Right, so now take the wheel.
Okay.
Flow, fight, flight, freeze. Full confidence, all the way to no confidence.
Wild. Do you sit, as you understand it right now, do you sit basically kind of just between those two chemical things right now with the...
Oh, I did the chemicals because it's obvious.
Well, yeah, but I mean with flow,
I don't think chemically.
You don't see
right
of
now.
anything. You see anything in the gap as far as you get to fight flight in that department, or not really?
Yeah, probably. I haven't looked that far
right
because
now,
I don't like to look
extreme ends
chemical.
of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't like to look at chemical first. I always look at the system first, right? But imagine flow to fight is what happens. Is I try to do first to talk and everything. That's the ventral vagus nerve, and it didn't work. So I'm less sure.
Less certain. Things escalate.
Right. Things escalate and everything. But again, it's not sure of what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's sure of me. So what is absolute certainty is when all systems work together. Mm-hmm. The brain, the heart, the gut. Yeah. Most likely, there's no way the sexual organ is not in there. Yeah. For whatever reason, I can't read about that.
Now, when you say things work together too, do you think that should also be between interoception and exteroception as well?
Eventually,
that
yes.
certainty
right.
is probably about the whole thing.
Right, but for example, instinct. Mm-hmm. Like talking to Magnus Carlsen is like, I know that's the right move. You don't feel it there. Yeah. You feel it everywhere. You know, like when you find something, like you have an epiphany and everything, and it makes you happy, you almost get a hard on.
Yeah.
Right, so that means that you felt it as much in your dick as you did in your heart, as your gut or your head.
I don't know that I've ever had that happen, actually, now that I think about
Never?
it. I have to think about it.
Or maybe just me.
Well, there might be a couple instances, but I can't bring them up on the podcast.
Like, you never got so excited that you go like, you're almost like get a tingly.
It's hard to say.
Like, you know, like your dick is tingling.
There's also other things going on in those situations often.
Well, it depends on what made you so happy. But
there's only one. No,
exactly. But me, I had like even reading neuroscience when I was like didn't get not a full hard on, but I was very excited.
Just like a science semi-hard.
Yeah.
That's our new shirt. Semi-hard for science.
Yeah.
StrongFit.
I like that one. That's a good one. That's a good shirt, actually. I like one. Actually, it's a very good description, semi-hard for science. Well, you feel that what you're reading is like you understand that, but you understand with your whole body. Yeah. Again, they talk about preciseness of interoception being the heart and the gut. The sexual organ has to be in there. For whatever reason, I can't find anything relating to that. But imagine if we had like different brains, right? Mm-hmm. At least those two, if not 2.5, right? And so certainty would be what? Would be everything working together. So the lowest somatic error. Yeah. So somatic error relating to a certainty, relating to entropy then. Yeah. More entropy you produce, more uncertain you are. By the way, what is entropy? A measure of disorder.
Yeah, which is a measure of uncertainty, if you would. Yeah.
It is. In physics, it's a measure of disorder.
You motherfucker. Is this what you've been doing since, what, Monday?
Yeah.
It's been like 2 days?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Right. But look at addiction, though.
Yeah.
Addiction as a measure of uncertainty.
I have to think through the layers too, because I always try to put the brakes on thinking of addiction as the drug using phase.
I look at it as a social construct.
Yeah, it's always so I always try to pull back and see and try to frame that in the progression that we kind of see as a
social construct.
As an adaptation.
It's a social construct for me, because I think we've seen enough to know. Yeah. But because, come on, like we know that a fucked up childhood raises your risks of addiction.
No, for sure.
6,000.
For sure.
So what if it's a measure of a certainty?
I would assume. Well, and that's why there's always a talk about there being, addiction and things are, what's the word? Like genetic, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, there's some of that. But
sensitivities,
and I do believe there's some of that, but also like, you know, if you're raised in an environment with fucking drug addicts as parents, like, is that your genetic? Is that hereditary, or is that like just your dad was a dick and now you're a dick?
The morals,
because you adapted to it.
We know like a lot of sexually abused kids end up turning not necessarily abusers, but have far less moral issues with sex as others, because from a very early age they go like, oh, okay, so it's normal. Not always a good thing, because it turns some of them into abusers, because they go like, but that's normal.
You can end up on the other side of empathy.
But I know from myself, he always gave me a less, or maybe just me, but I always felt I have a less moral view of sex than most people. Because I was like,
less of a right wrong.
Because I realized, oh my God, fucking let it go. You know what I mean? Like someone is touching your dick. Oh my God. Someone is grabbing your ass. Every seminar, ladies, like, you know, when they're all like this, usually the hand is squeezing the lats and squeezing the ass to see if I'm as hard as I look. And yes, I am. Thank you. Like, come on. Like the Me Too movement, I could, okay, like what? Am I going to make a list?
Julien, it's hashtag Julien also. I'd have to look up all the seminar photos, but yeah. There's some stray hands there, ladies.
And the hand sometimes wraps really around. And I'm all for it, by the way. I have no issue whatsoever. Go ahead, take advantage. Yeah, get a grasp. Those things are strong. I'm just saying, the lats even more. Like if you're gonna grab Richards on the pecs, me it's the lats. There's no question. Like Teres Major all day. Just giving advice. You know,
I hear you. No, I hear you.
Advices. I mean.
Well, so where do you go?
5'8", 160.
Where do you go from here now, as far as like working with it? Like what's
right? So let's talk about working with it. Back to for example, let me prove you that I'm right. Whole body hyperthermia.
Yep.
Overwhelming response. So for people I remember, it's basically infrared light that raises the body temperature past 38.3, and one session of that has blocked the symptoms of depression for up to 6 weeks on a group test of 40 people. Right, so what do you get out of the whole body hyperthermia? An overwhelming monitoring of the body. You get certainty.
And accuracy. Even though it's unpleasant.
Doesn't matter.
It's accurate. And that's all that matters.
Right. Exposure therapy, which is everything for most psychologists, right? So, actually, it was very interesting. I was listening to Dr. Peterson, and he was like, people like get like, you know, like panicking, social anxiety. They can't go to parties. He was like, all right. So exposure therapy, how do you do that? Like, all right, so we're going to do something where you go to a party and you have to introduce yourself to 2 people. You stay 30 minutes and you leave. So exposure therapy, which means like a vaccine, we start at a lower stuff because you can't have fun yet, but you're going to learn to go to a party. And he was like, all right, you have to introduce yourself to 2 people. Do you know how to do that? Let's work on your handshake. And so he would spend time working on handshake so that you can introduce yourself to people in a winning way. I was like, first of all, that's fucking smart. Teaching some men to shake hands instead, because you can get. I
swear to God, if this coronavirus thing means the end of fucking a handshake when you meet a person, I'm out.
Yeah, you learn a lot because this versus a strong.
And I grew up in a place where men were meant to be strong, fucking corn-fed, big-handed sons of bitches.
And we go like this to see if can you.
And if you don't have calluses, I judge you.
Right, and no, you'll see if the guy's an asshole. If he tries to squeeze too hard, I'm go like, no, don't do that. Because then the eyes meet and I'm like, no. And they go like, so now we know. Like there was already established a picking order, like, you're not doing that shit on me. It's like, okay, I can respect you now. There's so much done in a handshake between men, you have no idea.
Well, it's also, I don't know, I actually really hate any like formal social thing like that. I really was so irritated with the introduction rules, the arbitrary social rules in Austria of, Jesus, you got to fucking hug and kiss everybody like 5 times in a room when you walk into it. It's bananas. But the handshake thing, I really kind of would like to keep that.
Yes.
I just think it's a little bit of formality.
At least a high five.
It's probably the only way I'm going to act like a fucking gentleman. So like, give me that one thing, please.
I like the high five too, because you can feel if it's, everything goes on.
Oh, and then if you miss, there's always a deal, and I'm the guy who redoes botched high fives. But we're not. That's not how we do it. We're trying this again.
Let's do this.
We're not doing this.
So exposure therapy. What am I doing by doing this? I'm creating more certainty Like that's how it feels. Like again, like so the uncertainty is why can't you go to that party? So what is the social anxiety? It's like you have no clue on how you're gonna feel. Right. So the uncertainty of your body is tremendous. Yes, you might be humiliated at a party and stuff like that. That's true, but usually that's an image that you creating based on, again, theory of mind. The reason you think you're humiliated at that party is because that's how you feel inside. The humiliation being you have no contact inside.
Yeah. And you don't understand then that isn't the way it is.
It's not the outside world. It's the inside world. Yeah. Right. So that means that in order to work with anxiety and all that stuff, what you have to improve is interoceptive accuracy. And so I've been working on that for like a week now, more than that, but really specifically that on week. And for me, it calms me down. So it's very interesting on anxiety levels, and when I get agitated and everything, there's a calming effect to that is very, very strong. You know what I mean? And so especially that stuff with the kettlebell, because that's what I'm doing. I'm working on interoceptive accuracy by doing that. So there's an entire thing there.
And for you, you can kind of so in that case for you, it's also mostly heart related as well.
Right. Okay. So here's the problem. Is the only test we have for interoceptive accuracy is the heart. Right. So then they say, well, therefore, autistic people don't have interoceptive capacity for the body. And I'm like, well, for the heart. Yeah. Not even for the heart, for heartbeats. Yeah. What does that mean? That doesn't mean it's all of it. It just means that one.
Do you think, is there maybe a more subjective way that maybe isn't measurable by science that you would ballpark for some of those other interoceptive needs, like the gut flora? Like, you know what I mean? It's a weird way to sit there and how do you connect to...
Right, so you can't connect, you can't...
But is there a way?
Well, but gut instinct.
It's not a number.
Gut instinct, right. You know when you're anxious, you feel it here. Yeah. We know the connection with the 4-pack and anxiety and stress and everything is that because there's a bunch of lymph nodes in there, the Peyer's patches on the left, which is, so it starts to connect everything together. So like the 4-pack and anxiety, why do the abs get so tight when you're nervous and everything? External torque and everything, and sympathetic obviously, but is there also because that's basically anxiety means uncertainty. So is that because the connection from the gut flora to the head is not accurate enough, even though I can't give you a test, or you can't even I don't know what that is. Because remember, not everything is strong enough to be on a conscious level. You got 3 layers. You got the conscious level, you got the ones where you can feel, but you can't put a word to it, and you have the one that is there, but you can't even consciously, you don't even feel it, but it's still there. Those are 3 levels. So maybe the gut flora is at a level that can never come strongly enough that you can put words to it, but it's still there. Like when you're anxious, you feel it in that pit in the stomach that we all talk about. Yeah. You know, like your mom is about to come and whoop your ass, and then you have that feel right here where you go, oh. And sometimes when people feel like that, it's almost like hunger, they say. Yeah. Because they have a hole in their stomach. Yeah. Is that what the hole is? Is that disconnection with the gut flora, so behavior.
That's interesting.
Uncertainty toward behavior, because you know it's coming, but you don't know. But you know pain is coming, but you know what I mean? And again, from a caretaker, so we go back to uncertainty. So when your caretaker comes to whoop you, is it going to hurt because it's your mom? Because when your mom slaps you, it hurts 3 times as much than when a guy does it. I know because MMA, so I tried. Like, there's no guy that will hurt me nearly as much as my mother when she was whooping me, because it hurts more, because that's the caretaker. So, because again, pleasant touch and pain are social construct based on certainty to uncertainty, not based on the contact.
I see.
So if the pit on your stomach is because the caretaker is coming, therefore creating uncertainty, because they are the one from the beginning who solve the world for you.
So then the uncertainty is even magnified.
And that's why it's painful. And that's why it's so much more painful when it's your mom. Yeah. Because it creates an uncertainty. From the caretaker, from the most important social bond you had, the one you created oxytocin with. Remember, like you produce oxytocin, does that go even in the milk?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
You know, to create like the bond between the mother breastfeeding and the kid, because we know breastfeeding has a major impact too on the bonding and on later in life and stuff like that, right? So is the oxytocin goes from the heart. Does it go into the milk?
Plus, I think this probably would be worth looking into. I'm pretty certain there is massive great effects to gut flora from breastfeeding as well.
Oh,
that like
yes,
when
we
you
know
talk
that.
about building that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like that it maybe is that is basically the beginning of that place where you have the gut flora, you have oxytocin. That's where you get the chemical reinforcements for those.
By the way, the baby's
for those
here.
requirements.
So it's heart to heart, and we know through the ECG that we can communicate information through the electromagnetic field produced by the heart. So the baby is there, heart to heart. There's the communication there, and this isn't pseudoscience. This has been proven on couples. So mother to kid, I bet you it's there.
So I have a question then. If just to clarify, because I got this question the other day too, is so skin touch though is obviously exteroception, right?
Yes, but
right? However, so our interpretation of, just like everything you said, of the environment, of what this touch is,
goes
which
through
is
interoception,
has to go through the interoception first.
right, especially that one. Others less, but for example, like
because that's not open to interpretation.
right, so if I do this,
you
just feel my finger on your forearm.
Yeah.
Right. If Megan was doing that, it'd be pleasant.
Give me a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but she would be like this. You go like, that's pleasant. When I do it, you feel neutral. There's actually
neutral at best, guys. At best.
There's actually they were shown that there's pleasant versus neutral versus pain. Pleasant and pain go a certain part. Neutral goes a different, even in the brain.
Okay.
So that's why this is neutral, because there's no social bond either way.
Yeah.
So you're not going to feel a good handshake. That would be pleasant. Mm-hmm. Because between us, it'd be like, hey, you're my friend.
Yeah.
But not a touch, because that's not socially, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Because that's not the relationship. But a good handshake, you'd be like, hey, that feels good. There's my friend.
Yeah. Very wild. Well, Jesus, that's a really cool layer.
Right?
Also, I only heard, 10% of this.
Yeah.
10% of this when we were filming the... Also, Julien does this. I'm setting up for the cooking show. Get cameras, there's all the thing, and Julien comes over just to eat.
Yeah. Yes. I don't do shit on Monday.
So
I'm here to taste.
So I'm getting everything set up, and like my shit's like it usually is, kind of everywhere. And Julian's going, and I'm like, it sounded really interesting, but you wouldn't give the whole thing either. And I couldn't tell if you were asking me to ask. Because I also know that I don't have time.
Yeah, no, that's
for the explanation.
I was being nice.
So I was like, this is all I knew was the very fundamental.
No, but plus, no.
Actually, all you told me then was the autism, interoception, and the accuracy thing.
A lot of this came yesterday.
Jesus Christ! All right.
And so he linked, and then I was like, "Ooh, I can link a lot of stuff on this." Yeah. But now, if you look at the wheel, so the wheel is a certainty wheel.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
So flow is full certainty. Fight is. And then you keep going this way. And so the way to go from freeze to flight would be by gaining certainty. But again, people are going to think certainty as like, I need to be sure what I do. No, it has nothing to do with words. It's the accuracy. Well, because really, by the way, remember when I said awareness, sensitivity, awareness? Awareness is what? The confidence that I got the accuracy right. Mm-hmm. So the certainty. How interesting is that?
Very interesting.
Very interesting, yeah? Imagine the door it opens. So that means that to go from freezing, I need to gain certainty, but not from words, from my body, which means I need to get in touch with my body. Not manipulation, not from others, from you. So therefore, improving in that sense, accuracy would be... but so there's a problem with... So somatic error can go... There's an issue there, because somatic error can go both ways.
Yeah.
In the sense of, I have great interoceptive accuracy. I can hear my heartbeats all the time. I'm like, that's great. But can you make the prediction? Do you have great interoceptive sensitivity? Do you feel things strongly so that you can put them into words? So it's prediction versus observation, right? So if you have great accuracy, but you don't have the prediction part, you still have a big somatic error. So it's the two together. So it's always about reducing the somatic error. That's where certainty is. And again, somatic error is a measure of entropy, which is a measure of disorder. So like you can literally, the will is a measure of disorder.
You just pulled the whole thing all the way back to Schrodinger.
Yeah. So the will is a measure of entropy.
That's wild.
How wild is that?
Now, to clarify though, freeze is a kind of an, I guess...
Yeah, there's different type too.
Yeah.
Because depending how far you want to freeze, because there's tonic freeze, which is very valid, which is just to give you a second going whoop, pop, pop, I just got into trouble or stuff like that. And then there's freeze where you can't just fucking move anymore.
Well, but I don't want to break into all the details because I think we need more time on it anyways to think it all through.
Yeah.
But there's some interesting things there. Yeah, because I don't want to make a bunch of claims or theorize on air right when I found
this is brand new. So I'm just going in the musings, but suddenly it ties. I always know when I'm right. I don't know I always know when I'm right. I'm right on that one. Mm-hmm. So that one is right because I know I'm right because I'm not right. It is right.
Yeah,
that's always the feeling. Like this isn't mine. I mean, I put it together, but I can tell this is already out of my head because it's so right. It's like Google one time, go on YouTube and look, is mathematics discovered or created? It's the most fascinating conversation. I even put a guy where that's actually an idea from, I think Plato was the first one, where there is a world of ideas like separate from ours, like almost like another dimension. Mm-hmm. Like I think I talked about this.
Mathematics is kind of, it's its own layer of reality, if you will.
Right. Yeah. And so that one is straight from that, from that reality. So that's why I know it's right. Yeah. But it puts things together in a way where I'm like, So again, so that means that creating certainty toward the connection is the way. But so look at life today, right? In the Western society, we are stimulating the brain continuously. When was the last time you worked on hearing your heartbeat?
I don't think it's not even a thing that I've read about people doing.
Right. Yeah, probably during meditation, I'm guessing. Do they focus?
That's what they would tell me when my blood pressure would get too high.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're about to die. I can hear my heartbeat, and they're like, "That's probably a problem."
Yeah, the heart attack. But none of the work is based on accuracy of your signals.
Yeah. Well, that's a concept I don't think I've heard outside of you.
No, but even look at
that study that you mentioned in this conversation might be one of the few that I've seen that is on that subject of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's very little as far as the accuracy of it, as opposed to just that it exists.
But they're also not putting the Friston stuff enough into it. Yeah. So because you have to go, that's layer one from that study, but then you have to push that further.
Did he just piss off a lot of people, a lot of biologists, or what? Because it seems like his stuff is kept out of it.
I think so.
I don't know intentionally. I don't know. Maybe it's a new idea from an outsider to their world that keeps it off the table.
Do you remember when Einstein started? And I remember Jews physics.
Wasn't quite old enough.
Jews physics. Like he got dismissed. Oh yeah. So because he's a 24-year-old patent clerk in Zurich, and so he comes up with basically what is going to rock the world of physics, like to its foundation, right? And a German physics professor say something like that: Jews physics, it's not accurate enough. Oh yeah. But people forget, like Einstein got criticized severely during his life. And at the time, he was even said to have lost to Niels Bohr because of the Copenhagen interpretation, 1920s quantum mechanics. Now we revere the guy. He wasn't back then. He got criticized a lot. And I think Carl Friston, has pissed off so many people because he's making them feel dumb. Mm-hmm. They can't use his stuff because they don't understand it. So they're like, just tell me what to do. Yeah. They're like, can you produce something with it? And he's producing neuroscience, neuroimaging, brain imaging. He has changed the world of neuroscience. He has done to neuroscience what Einstein has done to physics. Maybe not quite, but in the same ballpark. And no one cares because what's the practical application of neuroscience? This is today's world. If Friston had been Carl Friston 100 years ago, he'd be one of the giants of this world. He's a Stephen Hawking for neuroscience. I kid you not. And he might be even brighter. Like the stuff you hear him speak, and he can pull from. If you think I pull from different subjects, like that dude can go a range that is, and he's doing it every second, like that. That dude is way past. I don't think his IQ charts because there's IQ and IQ, but his intelligence does not rate.
Yeah.
Right. But I think people feel they don't understand it well enough to produce anything based on what he says. And so I think that's why he's pushed aside. Because, Einstein, you could produce stuff. Einstein has changed the world in the sense of theoretical physics has changed the world since Newton, since Plato, really.
Yeah.
But if you look at Newton, changed the world because that gave us like the cars and stuff like that. And Einstein gave us a direct application toward quantum mechanics that gave us computers and everything. So theoretical physics has changed, even biology has changed the world. What are you going to produce at Carl Friston? You know what you're going to produce? Helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good business.
No, not necessarily. Yeah. There is an interesting thing that I had seen about the kind of the model with which now information comes up through new information, new ideas, or at least for them to cross, like in this case, to cross a barrier of
at the speed of business.
Yeah, and it is very much. The industry of science is in a very weird place right now.
Right.
There used to be a time when the government would pay for raw science.
Before World War II.
Yeah, and that stopped after that. But at that time, then the government could do just truly with funding that didn't need to be profitable on the back end.
Not producing research.
Yeah,
World War II changed that because, you know what? Because of the atom bomb.
Yeah.
Now everybody wanted to be a physicist because the army was offering jobs, the government was offering jobs to produce stronger weapons.
Yeah.
Research out the window.
Totally out the window. So raw science was essentially removed from there, and then has been sequestered into basically the private sector and the university sector.
Yes.
The problem is there's money to be made.
Scheme.
There's money to be made. Exactly. There's money to be made in the private sector. There's money to be made in the university sector if you're a university or a professor. Other than that, the entire thing is actually built on strapping the load of the research to young, enthusiastic graduate students whose job is basically to produce as much as they can so they can get placed at either a university or in a for-profit research
remember,
facility.
what is a university? It's a Ponzi scheme, right? In order to produce more professors.
Yep. And to continue grants coming.
So most of their energy does not go toward research, it goes toward producing other professors.
Yep.
How did we not figure out that this was a Ponzi scheme from the beginning? It's insane. So the only place where you can truly do pure research is the private world. But they expect results.
They need money.
They need money and they expect results.
Yeah. And when we talk from a systems basis, their need for money is already fucks that entire system.
Yep.
If money is dependent on profitability, you will never ever get good science.
Research is based on profitability. Yeah, exactly. So what we have now is we have a speed of research that is based on the speed of business.
Yeah.
So some researchers can go way further into what they do, but they won't because it doesn't produce
and the priorities of
Viagra or some shit.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
The priorities of business. Yeah, I mean, there's 400 different dick pills out there on the market.
No, yeah.
But
anxiety. Because anxiety...
We got pills for them, but none of them work. At least our dick pills work.
Yeah, well, so Viagra works better than antidepressants. What does that tell you about where the world is today?
Yeah.
Right, and so antidepressants, we create pills just enough to put people back to work. The fact that we rock, it's the system over individual, is always been the key to all issues. From, far right on one side to far left on the other. From Mao to Hitler, it's always the system over individuals. Yeah. By the way, you can't have a system without individuals, but you can't have individuals without the system. So a balance between the two. Yeah. But right now, science is not balanced.
Yeah.
And so that's why so Friston, I truly think that is so smart that first of all, they feel dumb. And because he's so far ahead, they can't truly use his stuff to produce anything outside of neuroscience.
Yeah. And are you going to let someone transcend their own field into yours? If you have control over it, I don't know that I would.
But there's a paper like that Travis Jewett was giving us about like from 10 years ago when the guy was saying like, it was about movement, saying like movement therapists in general, so from physio to chiropractors, have no incentives to include things like outside of the physiological part of movement, things like sociological issues, neuroscience and everything. They have no incentive to include that into movement because it would make them work backwards and acknowledge mistakes and things like that. So imagine if you have a Carl Friston coming into your world and he starts to rock the boat. Yeah. Then there's no choice. Remember like the Eric and Brett Weinstein, the podcast one with the rats, with the mice, where don't rock the boat.
Yeah.
Don't rock the boat. That was basically the lesson that I got from that podcast. Is the system is. I think what we're seeing right now is that we tried the fascism, World War II, Hitler and everything, didn't work out. We tried communism, didn't work. 100 million dead people later, guess what? Didn't work out either. What we're doing now is we have capitalism that is exceeding, that is completely unbalanced.
Yeah.
Right? We went past the point of balance in another system, and we are seeing not fascism of capitalism in a way, but the excess of capitalism, like a system that becomes too strong for its individuals.
I think in all of those things, like you just described, it is about the balance is the necessity,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Balance. And when we talk objectives versus constraints, the problem is just in any social system like that, true communism may become the objective. Capitalism becomes the objective.
Yep.
And when that becomes the case, the system will only, I'm telling you guys, look into this, the systems will only end up in one fucking place. That's it. And so when you talk to a constraint, I don't pretend to have the answers, but I will tell you this, there are measures of centralized government and social controls that I think matter, that are important and required to keep the world together and keep us all safe.
In balance.
I also think there's a measure of stay the fuck out of my business too.
Yes, it's
and
a
I
balance
also
between
think
the
that
two,
we really need to take care of people, and then I think you should be able to take care of the environment in the process. And I think all of those things can be done if you don't just start running fucking head first towards one ideology that is only going to spiral its own self out of control. And we don't build anything with constraints. We build it in, and right now it's incentivized with capitalism and just runs off.
Ideology over people is the source of all evil.
Yeah, and in the United States, you do not have capitalism right now. You do not.
Well, it depends. You have sometimes, but not always.
You have a corporatist system right now. You have corporate government.
Yeah, because they're free markets. No, it's not.
Yeah, there's not free markets, and that's everyone who shits on me when I say libertarian stuff is like, what you have never seen a free market. That's the problem. We don't even know. Well, and I don't believe we need just that.
I lived in Africa. I've seen when it's purely a little bit.
But I also believe that there is no libertarian utopia. Those people who believe that are fucking assholes too. And
because you would kill half the population.
And it's, what it is you should know more about how that stuff can help you and how this stuff can help you. And then you need to build a system with balance.
But it's very complex because it's a bunch of stuff. And you go back to balance every time.
And what we've seen with science is the same thing. Once we start incentivizing money and then the pyramid scheme of fucking universities and professors, we just blow that out and that's all we get. That's all we have now. With bad science, we have a mess.
I was watching an interview of Charlie Rose and Bruce Dickinson, his name is, the lead singer from Iron Maiden.
Yes. And when you said that, I was in my head, I was like, it's the guy from Iron Maiden?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's in his 60s now. Exactly.
I didn't expect you to go there. All right.
And he was talking about the fact that there was no Iron Maiden, when he started, was not a hard rock band, because there was no such things. Who created the distinction to put us into boxes was the media, because they needed to promote something and to be able to have specialists, and so they're the one who started to divide things. And that's what I see with the media today is, so the divisiveness, we put it on the media saying it's your fault, but I'm wondering if that's not what the media system is almost built for, because in order to survive, it needs...
And it's also required it's a requirement to fragment those things.
Exactly.
In media, specifically advertising, it's on the internet or anywhere else, I have to communicate to you without giving you this whole thing. So I have to reduce it, categorize it, put it in a box, and say, and in 30 seconds or less say, here's what this is. Are you interested?
Because that's what people are asking us to do.
Yeah. So that whole gap being filled there is, I just think that's where a lot of information gets lost.
Yeah, because I feel like when people talk about structure, they're really talking about fragmentation.
I agree fully.
Like, because most people are like, can you do this? Can you do that? I'm like, but if I do it the way you want, then it's not true anymore.
Every business structure you'll see that you ever build, its purpose, every business system's purpose is to actually fragment that segment of the business into a very small, manageable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, that's
objective-based mentality.
Yeah, but that matters and should be done
within balance.
So far.
Yeah. So. Within balance, because otherwise you always end up in the same place.
So we're trying to find balance with all this. Giving away stuff for free, charging for stuff. We're trying to find balance with good science and bad science.
So we're going to start charging. There's going to be a paywall. We'll start probably in May, if not June or whatever we start.
Yeah.
Mid-June or mid-May or whatever. There's going to be behind the paywall because there's certain things like I want a relationship with people. So I want the people that are willing to put the work and stuff like that. So I try to find other ways, but it didn't work. So let's see about this one. But behind the paywall, one of the first things we'll do is we'll film training and we'll put it. And then the second I'll start, for example, explaining how to improve that interoceptive accuracy, not just hearing your heartbeat, but that connection to the body. Because I've been working, so like there's the whole body hyperthermia, there's a bunch of stuff like that. What I've been working with seems to be extremely, I don't know, it worked for me anyway. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Really well. So now I'm starting to wonder if I did not figure out something with the kettlebell thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. But we'll find out on people. But don't worry, we'll keep the podcast, we'll keep all that stuff. But this has to stop. Like people just wanting to talk to me.
Yeah.
But without really wanting to do the work, that shit has to stop. Like this is, like I understand this is where the world is and everything and Instagram and all that stuff, and I don't give a shit. Like this is not, we don't make money on Instagram. We don't I do not approve.
Yeah. Well, what you're going to approve of, speaking of a hard segue, StrongFit.com.
Yeah.
So StrongFit.com, that's where you're going to find all our stuff. We're going to finish for today. I have to go look at an apartment.
Finally, a few blocks from here. So let's do this.
It's right there. It's exactly like halfway between here and Richards. I'm really hoping. So they are not aware of Fletch yet, so I got to just talk them through that.
You put him here in the meantime. Put him outside here in the meantime.
Well, I mean, I just think we should. We'll see. I might just not tell them. We'll figure it out.
Exactly.
So, but StrongFit.com, StrongFitEquipment.com, StrongFitEquipment.eu. Sandbags are selling hot. Get them while they're hot. We do have them fully stocked, I think, now. We just got to restock. So, sandbags are sitting pretty. Let's see. We have the StrongFit Library at StrongFitLibrary.com. All the articles, all the stuff, everything there. Sortable, shareable. We've also got episode guides getting put together for the podcast episodes. So to try to make things more digestible, but without losing the context, trying to summarize Julien is sometimes very difficult. So what we started doing is making these, just pick a few points. We pick a few points in each episode, and then we'll take either between 1 and 5 minutes of Julien explaining it instead of someone else or me trying to come in and butcher his words or what's the word, or paraphrase it, and so much gets lost in paraphrasing. That way, though, you can show somebody that is, this is Julien saying this about this specific thing, and you don't have to sort through all these podcast episodes to kind of show those things. So I think that'll make things more accessible without bastardizing them.
I'm thinking the wheel as a measure of entropy. I like it.
That's not bad.
The entropy wheel.
This is what he thinks about while I'm trying to do advertising.
Yeah, totally. This is what I think about at night, just to give you an idea.
And
instead of watching TV, that's literally what I think about.
And also during the day, I think. I don't know what else we've got. Oh, we have the functional integration training template. It's out.
That'll be the next podcast.
And it's people are digging it. We'll talk about that next episode.
Because I want to explain the how, the why, and the results I'm getting from it, which are
solid, very solid.
I'm impressed.
What else? We have one-on-one coaching with Julien.
Strong, again, that feels good.
My wife is making more progress than I right now. It's frustrating to me, so I don't want to talk about it. It's a measure of our stress in lives, I think.
Plus, you don't have access to the global gym.
Yeah.
But that's what the next cycle is. Like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
It's because it's 6 and
I feel like what happens is when I can't train around other people, I forget that I'm bigger than all of them. So then I just lose my confidence completely.
Exactly.
It's all in my head. That's probably got us wrapped up. StrongFit1 on Instagram, Tyler F. and So on Instagram. We have Rare Barracuda. Also check out the Protocol Cooking Show on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to everything. Leave a review. Thank you.